from Dunkin' Donuts. I wanted to go on the cheaper side. I do have almond milk, which takes the price up a little bit. But Starbucks is so expensive. It's gotten to the point of just, it's too ridiculous. And for some reason, I just felt like their little mocha, someone gave me a gift card last year, and I realized they had some okay mochas. So I was willing to go in there. The only reason I don't is because often the stores here have an aroma. I don't know where it comes from. It's the 7-Elevens and the Dunkin' Donuts often wind up with the same
no, because you were looking
sandwiches and then lunch. And wind up with this aroma, and I don't know if it's a cleaning fluid that's being used that sort of contributes to that aroma or what, but it would show up in 7-Elevens and Dunkin' Donuts all the time. So it kind of threw people off a little bit, and a lot of people avoided certain Dunkin' Donuts, not all of them. They have newer ones that are just fine, but it would be a thing where new ones would open, and then in time, even at the 7-Elevens, that aroma would develop. So I think it's a cleaning fluid that, I don't know what it is. So anyway. I figured it's a little extra cold this morning. We had a few days of mild weather, but this morning it's chilly. So later, well, I have some dog walks and trying to make some decisions as to how else to earn money in addition to dog walks. I was kind of giving myself a little bit of a break in December just because I had a lot of overnights and was bogged down with dog walks, cat visits, overnights, all during that time period. So we're approaching Locust. Mornings so far. A little busy on Sansom. They have it blocked off between 16th and 17th because of construction and redoing the sidewalk. So people sort of be on the alert. You have to walk around a little bit and, you know, take the long way around on those blocks. Church here. Let me set this down for a second just to get my display to reappear. It usually dims after so many minutes, or you know, like 30 seconds, and sometimes my gloves don't do the trick. There we go. Here's Tequila's, a popular restaurant, but it wound up with a kitchen fire around back. Triad lifts here. So there's the Tequila's, and of course there's other dwellings above Tequila's. I don't know if they use it for storage, if there's apartments way up there. I'm walking on Locust, headed west. Beautiful St. Mark's Church, I think, over here, with a little bit of facade facelifting going on. Here, I remember for years, it was more of these steps over here. We had an incredibly cold winter 2015. I remember it because I wound up buying 3 mochas in one day, which is rare. I was outside walking dogs all over the place, and I was like, I have to keep warming up, get tea, whatever. And there was a young homeless lady who used to sit on these steps all the time. Back then, Starbucks sort of was a place of refuge. It still is a little bit. There was a lot more seating. It was more cozy, I guess, in the past. And people would just pile in there just to keep warm. I wound up there late one evening working on an essay that I needed to complete for my MFA, which I felt sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and went on for the MFA in order to hopefully escape whatever was going on here. I saw it as maybe a ticket out. it did and didn't work. There's a little bit of both. So, but one of the nights, very cold winter nights, that I would go to Starbucks at 18th and Spruce, I would find her and a guy who took up companionship with her because it was so cold. They were hanging out, sort of seeking shelter in the Starbucks at night. In an odd way, it helped me see something that I didn't necessarily see in people before. And homelessness is something I've always worried about with people, but as far as solutions, I have no clue, you know, what really works. But yeah, a really good job or someone who has money to really help people out. But usually homelessness, if someone's homeless, it's really hard to work normally. There's probably a reason they wound up there to begin with. And it's not just drugs. People drove them crazy is how I see that sometimes. But anyway, what I realized was, you know, I kind of sat down at this table to work on an essay and they started talking. Well, really the guy did, the homeless guy. And he did reek of, you know, alcohol and everything. I don't know if he drank some to keep warm or, if, you know, he might have actually, I'm sure he had a little bit of a substance abuse issue to begin with, but he started talking and talking, and what I realized was he started saying things that were like, words would come out that were overly coincidental, almost as if people could tap your brains, but I knew he wasn't really capable or overly conscious of that per se. It would be more like the universe working through other people. It's hard to explain, not to discount him as a person. I just knew that he was half out of it and words were just swirling all over the place. And it kind of explained, like, I came across some people after 2000, I had a bad experience in 2011. The world sort of exploded, if you will. And it could seem like some people knew too much of your business. It's hard to explain. You would have to be in it. If you're not in it, it's really hard to understand how deeply disturbing it can be to be surrounded by people who sort of, you know, participate in certain things, or they're totally unconscious of their actions. But this guy was basically nice, but he helped me see that a lot of people I had come across in 2010 might be used, because they seem to know my business, or it's hard to explain, but it can seem like a science fiction movie. Things get really weird and crazy. And what if it's just, you know, those people are technically being used by some other sadistic force in the universe to drive people totally